Coming up on Oregon News, a recent VA audit once again uncovers excessive wait times for veterans seeking health care. We'll take a look at a new law that may keep you safer behind the wheel.
And phone scammers are at it again. All of that and more coming up.
Good afternoon and welcome to Oregon News. I'm Wendy Jones.
And I'm Hannah Vetrano. Here are today's top stories.
The U.S. House passed its version of a new health care bill. It squeaked by with a 217 to 213 vote yesterday. Both major parties are criticizing the bill. Many Republicans say they don't like the increases for premiums with various existing conditions. According to a report by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, premium hikes for patients with cancer could be as high as $140,000. The bill is also under fire for exempting members of Congress from the proposed changes. The bill will now go on to Senate, where it may be amended before coming up for a vote. Speaking of healthcare, President Trump issued an executive order to expand military veterans' access to healthcare. As Armin Araratian reports, some vets welcome the change.
Afghanistan is a place where it's hard to tell whether or not you're liked or hated by a lot of the people.
War abroad can be difficult on soldiers, but for some veterans, struggles on the other side of the world can continue when they come home. The Department of Veterans Affairs is notorious for long wait times and not being able to provide health care to servicemen and women.
One of the big problems with the VA is that they do the best that they can. Actually, let's not say that because that's half-assed true.
Former service member Tyler Robinson says the VA doesn't do enough to help veterans get the health care they deserve. However, last week, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to extend a VA program. The CHOICE program intends to allow veterans to seek health care outside the VA if they cannot receive an appointment within 30 days or if they live more than 40 miles from a VA facility. The program was set to expire in August of this year, but has been extended until January 2018.
It allows people to be able to go to a privatized place that maybe can better fit their needs within a local area for them.
That is what the VA claims the CHOICE program does. A recent study refutes that claim. In early March 2017, the VA published an audit headed by Assistant Inspector General for Audits, Larry Reinkmeyer. The audit breaks vet healthcare down into three categories: primary care, mental health, and specialty care. The VA website's database claims that the average time to receive primary care is 5.1 days. The audit, however, finds that 33% of primary care appointments had wait times longer than 30 days, with the average time being 51 days. For mental health, the VA claims that care was received within about 4 days. After a review, 16% of mental health appointments took longer than 30 days, with an average wait time of 59 days. For specialty care, the VA says the average wait time is about 9 days. In reality, 39% of special care appointments had wait times longer than a month, and on average took a whopping 60 days. The audit concluded, quote, "CHOICE did not reduce wait times to receive necessary medical care for many veterans. We estimate that about 18,500 of 22,500 veterans, 82%, who received their health care through CHOICE did not receive the care within 30 days of the date the VA identified the veterans needed for CHOICE care," end quote. Robinson says a change to the system has to be made.
There's a lot more steps that need to come to having the VA be the place that veterans can go and be accountable and have the veterans feel that they can go there and will get the help that they need.
The VA did not return any calls for comment. Armin Araratian, Oregon News.
In another healthcare news, the University of Oregon will soon be screening all incoming students for stress and depression under a new online program called UO Cares. Freshmen and transfer students will be screened. Jasmine Cookson reports.
The University of Oregon has launched a new online survey to identify students who may be suffering from stress, anxiety, or depression. The new screening process, called UO The University of Oregon has launched a new online survey to identify students who may be suffering from stress, anxiety, or depression. The new screening process, called UO Cares, invites students to answer an online questionnaire and then receive a specific preliminary assessment about their mental health. Senior staff psychologist Mark Evans says the screening program specifically targets those most at risk, this being freshmen and transfer students.
Students are also being separated from their primary support systems, and some students maybe have a difficult time developing a new support system. It may take a while to do that.
Cody Webb, a junior who has suffered depression for most of his life, says the UO does a good job of being a safe haven for students who are struggling with any form of mental illness.
A lot of the time you aren't judged for what you do a whole bunch. You do get more of a freedom and less of a judgmental atmosphere from places I've been.
Over 100 freshmen and transfer students have been chosen to do the first round of testing. It's completely confidential and only takes 10 minutes, and those 10 minutes could save somebody's life. But Cody Webb says the UO shouldn't neglect other students who might be in need.
But there's also, when you get into junior and senior year, there are a lot of people who are under a lot of constant stress. I think they would probably be the best people to try and help out rather than freshmen.
In the meantime, psychologist Mark Evans says he hopes the survey will encourage students to take the next step forward and come into UO's counselling centre and seek the help they need. Jasmine.
In other news, a report from the Southern Poverty Law Center reveals hate groups have more than doubled in the U.S. in the last 2 decades. As Deuce Whitson reports, the Jewish community in Eugene has felt the increase.
Joel Jacobs is proud to be Jewish, but he says it isn't always easy to practice his religion.
It's a scary timing right now, just based on what's going on in the world.
Jacobs is a member of Alpha Epsilon Pi, a Jewish fraternity at the University of Oregon. Since the 2016 election, Jacobs says he's heard more and more people yelling anti-Semitism obscenities outside of his frat house. But it's not just obscenities.
Here in the Whitaker district, symbols of white supremacy have popped up all over the neighborhood, such as this one right here. But as you can tell, it looks like it was at least halfway painted over.
Andy Gittleson is the executive director of Hillel, a campus center for Jewish students. He says this happens more than people think.
The fact that it happens in Eugene proper is nothing new.
For example, about 2 weeks ago at the University of Oregon, 2 men could be seen driving this truck with Nazi symbols around the Student Union building. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, Oregon is among the states with the highest incidence of hate crimes in the wake of the general election. And for those who want to know why, there seems to be no definitive answer. Some researchers blame the campaign rhetoric of Donald Trump. Others say the problem is a backlash to the U.S. becoming more socially progressive. No matter the cause, some say we need to fight this hateful rhetoric.
Nazis are not welcome here!
And we're going to not let that be the voice of our campus. And so I think at the end of the day, I am hopeful that this momentum won't get lost moving forward.
A voice, Jacobs says, that should be used to get to know one another.
Until you actually sit down and have that conversation, you say, hey, my name's Joel, or hi, my name's, whatever. You can't say you don't like that person.
Deuce Woodson, Oregon News.
As of last year, 917 different hate groups had been identified in the U.S. 11 of them are in Oregon.
Phones.
They're not just a distraction.
They're also a tool in a never-ending effort to empty your bank account.
Coming up, we'll have a report on the latest phone scam.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Eugene City Manager John Roos has unveiled next year's budget proposal. The new plan would add $7 million for the design and construction of a new city hall. Bailey Mulder updates us on the project.
The proposed city hall is getting expensive, and not one nail has yet been pounded. The previous budget was already nearly $18 million. If the budget increase is approved, the estimated cost would rise to $25 million. The money for the increase would come from a reserve fund containing money Comcast paid out after losing a lawsuit against the city. City Councilor Alan Zelenka thinks the money should be used if the project was to go over budget.
Taking that debt portion of the city hall and using that one-time money to replace it and not go into debt over that is, I think, a prudent thing to do, and hopefully what the city council will do in the end.
Eugene hasn't had a city hall since it was closed in 2012, and the building was demolished starting in 2014. Right now, a site for the new city hall is in negotiation. The city council is determining whether to build its replacement here at 8th and Oak, replacing the parking structure. Lane County owns this piece of land across from the county courthouse, which is in negotiation to be traded with the city for the old city hall lot. Community Relations Director Jan Bowman says this would be the ideal outcome.
Both the city and the county decided that their first choice would be to exchange properties and have the city hall go on the butterfly lot.
However, the negotiation faces issues of size and value differences, as well as a deed written by Eugene Skinner declaring that the lot only be used for a county courthouse. But Zelenka says they still have a plan B to fall back on.
And if butterfly lot doesn't work, then we go back, as plan B would be, go back to the original site for the new city hall.
The city has spent almost $5 million on the project so far, and they're hoping to get the ball rolling on the project by fall 2017, aiming for a completion date of 2021.
So even though we can limp along without it for a while we figure this out and we try to get it the right way for this community, I still think it's a very important thing to do, and I think that there are a lot of people that hoping that this scenario will be able to come about.
Bailey Mulder, Oregon News.
Distracted driving has become an epidemic, and with more distractions available to drivers than ever, the problem isn't going away. Wendy Jones reports.
The Oregon Department of Transportation has seen a large number of fatalities on Oregon highways, the highest level of fatalities on Oregon highways in a decade. And distraction is the major cause. But communications sector manager at the Oregon Department of Transportation, Tom Fuller, might have a solution. Fuller stresses the importance of paying attention while behind the wheel.
You have one job when you're behind the wheel, and that's drive your vehicle. You're not there to have a conversation on social media. You're not there to be looking at email. You are there to pay attention to the road around you.
Oregon state lawmakers passed legislation on Monday that could impose huge fines for drivers. If you're caught using your phone for GPS use or just simply holding your phone in your hand while driving, you could be fined up to $2,000. Eugene Traffic Enforcement Unit Police Officer Rodney Thrower says a steep fine could be especially damaging to young people.
A lot of 16 to 20-year-olds where the highest usage is they don't have $2,000 to pay for a fine for getting popped on their phone.
ODOT's newest campaign, Drive Healthy, focuses on forcing drivers to do one thing behind the wheel: drive. By taking away smartphone distractions, ultimately keeping themselves and other people safe.
These fatalities are people that are physicists and are mothers and daughters and business people, loved ones. No one should have to lose a loved one on the road because of a distracted driver.
ODOT will launch its web campaign before Labor Day.
The Eugene Police Department is warning people about phone scams. Reporter Hannah Vetrano says there are red flags you can spot if you think someone is scamming you.
Phone scams are increasing and people are losing lots of money. The scammers try to hook you by offering rewards or claiming that you owe money. Evita Garza was nearly conned by a phone scammer. The sophomore at the University of Oregon was taken in by threats.
I owed a lot of money, and if I didn't bring them the money right now, I would be arrested, and there was apparently police following me.
The scammer told Garza to put $200 on iTunes gift cards, then drop it off at a specific address. She was in the store and about to buy the cards when she decided to check out the demand further and discovered she was being targeted. Debbie Janacek is the acting supervisor for the crime prevention unit at the Eugene Police Department. She says people should always report a scam.
We know it's an underreported crime, and there tends to be a little bit of an embarrassment around that, and people have lost a lot of money.
Janacek says her best advice is for people to stop, think, and check it out. The police department says red flags involve demanding forms of payment through untraceable means, such as iTunes, Amazon, and reloadable gift cards. Garza says she wants everyone to know enough to avoid her stress.
Because it's very easy for them, for like a student like me, to listen and like actually hand over your money.
The Eugene and Springfield police encourage citizens to report any type of scam. Scams aren't the only way to separate people from their money. When it comes to women, there's something called the pink tax. Reporter Gabby Arenda has more on the cost of being a millennial woman.
21-year-old Jenny Patel uses men's deodorant over women's because of the cost associated with female products.
It's cheaper, and I could get 2 deodorants for $4 versus just a woman's deodorant.
The cost of being a millennial woman means dealing with rising student debt, along with, on average, making less money than men. This men's deodorant, located here at the Safeway behind me, is $3.99, but this women's deodorant is $4.49. Both are the same brand, but what makes them so different? Some would say the pink tax. The pink tax, also known as the price difference between male and female products, gets its name from the specific colors it uses to attract girls and women versus the more neutral gender colors for men. The New York City Department of Student Affairs published a study in 2015 saying women pay 13% more for personal care products. Women and gender studies professor Jamie Buffalino focuses on U.S. consumer culture and says that women are seen as profits to companies.
Playing on people's insecurities, and in particular women's insecurities, has been a major moneymaker.
Patel agrees with this theory.
Just because it's making them money, they're okay with it, and I think that's messed up because we're clearly paying more for the same thing.
Gabby Arenda, Oregon News.
Additionally, there are 38 states in the U.S. tampons as a luxury item. Oregon is not one of them.
Wow, Gabby, what an interesting woman.
Definitely. But millennial women in Oregon sports aren't letting these off-field challenges stop them from achieving greatness this season. I'll get you caught up on women's tennis and softball after the break.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Welcome back, I'm Gabby Arenda and this is Oregon Sports. The University of Oregon women's tennis team is celebrating after earning the #3 seed in the NCAA tournament. The Ducks have not appeared in the tournament since 2007 and will face North Carolina State in the first round on May 13th in Athens, Georgia. Another team in the national spotlight is Oregon softball. This weekend, the Ducks will take on the #2 team in the country, the Florida State Seminoles, after completing the sweep against the Oregon State Beavers last Sunday. Oregon creeped up to the 5th spot in this week's USA Today's coaches poll. It should be a good matchup. The historic Oregon Twilight Meet starts this afternoon. Our Cale Newton has the lowdown on what races to look out for. Cale?
The lone home track meet for the Oregon track team this season, the Oregon Twilight Meet, is set to be action-packed, despite some notable absences.
Edward Cheserek will not be running in the meet, instead opting for the coveted Peyton Jordan 5,000 meters. Collegiate 800-meter record holder Raven Rogers is also not entered, and Indoor Athlete of the Year Hannah Cunliffe isn't slated to run either. However, there are some packed fields on deck. The women's 1,500 meter will be headlined by freshman sensation Katie Rainsberger. Be looking out for the men's 800 meters, which boasts an impressive Oregon-centric field. Bo Armstrong, Stephen Bullard, and Ryan Booth will be representing Eugene's own Team Run Eugene, while Austin Tamagno and Blake Haney will join Penn Relay's Athlete of the Meet Sam Prakel for UO. And of course, U.S. champion, Olympian, and former Duck Devin Allen will be returning to Hayward Field for the first time since turning pro.
The meet will start at 2 p.m., and guys, it should be a good one. For Oregon News, I'm Cale Newton. Back to the sports desk.
Thanks, Cale. It's been pretty warm this week. If you're already looking for ways to cool down with friends, inner tube water polo may just be the thing for you. The game is a lot like regular water polo and is played with the same rules but much less effort. Players must remain seated in their inner tubes during the whole game. If they're knocked out, they must climb back into their tubes before they can resume play. It's a perfect way for people with no experience or varying fitness levels to enjoy the sport. Eugene Parks and Rec has its own summer league if you're interested. It begins June 13th. Hey Kale, how's the weather look like this weekend at Hayward Field?
Well, Gabby, it looks like things are going to stay a little rainy here in Eugene. I hope everyone got their fill of sunshine this last week because it does appear that the rain is back in Eugene, at least for today. With a high of 54 and a low of 36 with showers throughout the rest of the day. Saturday will clear up somewhat though, with cloudy skies and a high of 57 and a low of 36. Sunday is going to be another welcome springtime day with clear blue skies, a high of 63 and a low of 37. So it's looking like a good weekend to start that spring garden. Or if you're a masochist, it could be time to start your spring cleaning. Now heading up I-5 to Portland, we've got more rain up there as per usual. Highs in the mid-50s and lows around 41. Saturday will be a bit cloudy, but a little warmer. We'll see highs of 61 and lows near about 40. So not a bad day for a quick road trip. Sunday will continue this trend, but also continue to warm up as the high will go to about 64 with lows remaining in the lower 40s. Now with the passage of the American Health Care Act in Washington, D.C., we should expect some chances of showers, thunderstorms, and maybe some protests. Those that venture out will be greeted by those thunderstorms and showers throughout the day. The rain should dissipate later in the day, however, with highs in the low 70s and lows in the upper 50s. Saturday will bring more rain and some chillier weather, with highs dipping to about 61 and lows plunging to 46. Sunday will still be cloudy as members of Congress prepare to get back to work, with highs in the low 60s and lows staying around 43 degrees.
Thanks, Kale. And coming up after the break, we'll see how all this rain is impacting farmers, their crops, and forest fires.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals 25. Good job!
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Spring is here, and so is allergy season. In Oregon, tree pollination is at an all-time high. Pollen allergies are common in Eugene because we have lots of trees, flowers, grass, and other plants that produce pollen. Right now, we have a high concentration of tree pollen, especially from birch, ash, and oak trees. According to pollen.com, over 67 million people suffer from allergies, and of those 67 million, 81% say they are allergic to pollen. For Eugene resident Josh Simpson, the season of discomfort has arrived.
A few weeks ago when the rain started and it started to get really nice outside, my allergies were just out of control. I've been through 7 boxes of Kleenexes, my nose won't stop running, and this is probably the worst season so far since I've been here.
If you have pollen allergies or think you might, symptoms include sneezing, running nose, watery eyes, itchy eyes, and throat. A few ways you can get allergy relief is by staying indoors during the peak pollen hours, as well as taking allergy medicine before you start having symptoms.
While some are frustrated about allergy season, others are anxious about the rain. It has been unusually rainy this season, even for Oregon. In Portland, it has rained more than 140 days since October. In Astoria, those numbers are even higher, with over 160 days of rain. But these April showers bring May flowers? Many farmers are saying they don't.
Rain, rain, go away. That is what some farmers say. Farmer Shondell Leatherberry, who runs the Good Earth stand, has struggled because of the heavy rain and harsh cold weather.
We're probably a month behind this year because we haven't been able to plant.
According to Leatherberry, other farms are in the same situation. Farms with greenhouses have been faring fine, but smaller farms that can't afford to buy greenhouses have resorted to other means. For example, Leatherberry has been selling foraged crops, such as wild edible greens and burdock roots. For her regular crops, she has attempted a variety of techniques for growing.
We had to do a lot of tunnels and kind of creative things to try to keep water off.
So what's up with this weather? Marissa Wallison of KEZI News explains.
This winter we were in a weak La Nina, so for that means that we usually have temperatures that are colder than normal, and then also our precipitation tends to be more than normal.
El Niño and La Nina are complex weather patterns. During normal conditions, trade winds push warm surface waters towards Asia. Now La Nina occurs when these trade winds grow even stronger, pushing all this warm water out into the Pacific. And in the eastern Pacific, there's an upwell of cold water. And that creates the cold temperatures that we've been experiencing.
What about the future?
We are looking to trend more back into an El Nino, so that for us would mean warmer than normal temperatures and then possibly a little bit less than normal precipitation.
Despite the recent challenges, Leatherberry is not worried about the future of her farm.
We're already going to be able to plant next week.
Chloe Spencer, Oregon News.
The Farmers Market is located at Oak Street and East 8th Avenue and is open on Saturdays from 9 to 3.
The heavy rains are bringing good news for Oregon firefighters. According to the Oregon Bureau of Land Management, this winter's rain is going to push the fire season further into the year normally, with wildfires during the June and low elevations spreading to high elevations in July. But delayed spring rain and snow melt from the mountains will push fires to July and August. But there is a downside to all the rain, as well as according to the Regional Public Affairs Officer, Tracy Weaver, Oregon is expecting a very warm summer, and the high amounts of rain have caused the grass and foliage to grow. Once the plants dry out, fire danger levels will go much higher. And Weaver says the upcoming solar eclipse and the amount of spectators will raise the potential risk for human-caused fires. That's all we have for news today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Wendy Jones.
And I'm Hannah Vetrano. Be sure to tune in for our news update on Monday.